e-voting from Argentina to the world. First of all, muito obrigado pelo convite. And, well, he's Alfredo Ortega. He's going to join me in the talk.
Okay. And he's Hakan. He's Iván Barrera Oro. His hacker nickname is Hakan because he hacks things. So, well, he's a pretty good guy, as you can read here. He's really awesome.
Yeah, he's a white hat, so be careful with that. So, first of all, we are going to define some paradigms for our talk. Because we are going to talk about every voting system, in particular those from Argentina. So just to begin with, we are going to say that, okay, yeah, this is better. Any voting system must determine who won the election and convince the losers that they lost. Very recently, I read statistics about here in Brazil that said that less than 14% of the people actually trusted the voting system. That's really bad, because if the civilians, if the people don't trust in the system doesn't work. We are going to say also that no technology can fix a political issue. Voting and democracy is a political issue, a civilian, a societal issue, an issue of the society. We can apply technology to it, but we are not going to solve it just by using technology. And finally, if the vote must be kept secret, and it must be kept secret because it's in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, if the vote must be kept secret, no current technology other than pen and paper can solve the issue. So at this point, you already can already see where this talk is going. We are not e-voting fans, and we are going to show why. This.
Yeah. You know what happened with the vote is not secret. You got Twitter. That's why it sucks. Twitter voting is not secret, so it's a big part of why Twitter is like it is.
Exactly.
And YouTube is secret. So that's the difference between Twitter and YouTube. Sorry.
Exactly. So let's take a quick overview on the Argentine electoral system. This is just to build a big picture and to understand what the electronic voting systems that we're going to talk about are trying to solve. Well, as a brief explanation, we in Argentina have a two-round system similar to yours. We use pre-printed and pre-marked party ballots, which is the French ballot system. I'm going to show you an example of those ballots. Alternatively, on some situations, unique paper ballots are used in Argentina. For example, for voters in other countries, Argentines abroad, or inmates. Also, the vote must be universal, equal, mandatory, and secret. Universal, this is established by our constitution. Well, it must be secret. I already told you why. It's mandatory, meaning that everybody must vote. It's equal, meaning everybody's vote weights the same. It's just one vote. And it's universal. This is an example of a paper ballot. It's a pre-printed ballot. One can choose to cut the ballot and mix them in the way they want. This is a really annoying system. It's really crappy, but it's the one we have. Even though I said we don't support e-voting, we actually don't support this system either. We prefer unique paper ballots, which is much better. I think you already know the unique paper ballot system. You have used it in the past here in Brazil, although I know it has been many years ago. This is the overall procedure. Once people has voted, and each vote goes to a ballot box, then at the end of the voting day, the box is open. The president of the polling station counts the votes. It gets assisted by assistance of each different political party. and that defines what it's called the table scrutiny. After that, a telegram is sent as the preliminary count, which gets to the news, and after that, we have the definitive count, which happens like 1 or 2 weeks after that. This is the overall procedure for Argentina. You have a very similar procedure here, except that you use e-voting. Provisory, that was the word I was looking for. So, as I said, in the polling station, the president counts the votes, and makes the telegram and acts. These are special certified papers. That counts for the provisory result. And then the final result is done by the judicial branch, and it takes like about 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks long, something like that. Now, we have been working in different places.
Yeah, that's me. We have different glasses.
Yeah, that's him. That's Javier Smaldone, also a partner who couldn't come today. The other one is me. We have been at the Congress. We have delayed the implementation of e-voting nationwide. We didn't stop it because it's still very alive, very real. Actually, just recently, we learned that the next week, a new law is going to pass in our city, in the autonomous city of Buenos Aires, Cava, to use actually e-voting there. We are going to talk about that in a moment. Well, this thing was going to happen nationwide, but luckily it didn't because of our economy. As you know, our economy went sour, so the machines were too expensive. But we'll see what happens. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the unique electronic ballot, o boleta única electrónica, which is a patented system by the MSA company. We researched it between 2015 and 2017, and we published several reports. We found many issues. All of those were fixed by the vendor. The vendor did it silently, of course. They didn't reward us at all.
Yeah, is there no way to see if he fixed it or not, because it's closed? So apparently it fixed it.
Yeah.
We don't know really.
Yeah, that's a good quote, because the source code is actually closed. We got our hands in the source code through a magic way. Somebody named Prometheus actually published the code online, so we got access to it. But well, magic.
Yeah, this is kind of awesome because it's very hard to leak this kind of software. I mean, we are talking about mafia here. You had to basically steal a machine under the sea of the military people and leak it everywhere. Nowadays, I don't know how this guy did it because it's basically it put his life in danger. There's a guy in Congo that actually leaked the source code of the voting machines, and he had to travel to I think to London. Or the Canada or something, because they were to kill him. I mean, this is not a good research to do. I mean, if you are thinking about doing this, it's not a good idea. I mean, it's nice to see the results, but if you want to start it, I know you don't have an army to back you, probably not.
But come on, I want to encourage them to actually leak codes, to leak sources of this kind of things.
Of course, that's no. Yes, do it.
Yeah, it's a dangerous idea, but I really want to encourage you to do it. We are going to talk a little bit about that in a moment, but seriously, it's dangerous. I know. I know leaking things can be very complicated, but it's a good action eventually. Well, we finally got recognized by J. Alex Halderman. Kudos to him. Let's begin with the technical part, so you don't fall asleep. This e-voting system uses paper backup. It's based on Ubuntu Linux. It's written in Python and has a web front end. It's just very recently implemented crypto. When we analyzed it, it didn't have any kind of crypto. The application, the Python application and everything else run as root directly. The vote is printed and it's also stored in an RFID chip. It's an ISO 15693. The machine uses this information to vote and then to count those votes. The machine does not store, theoretically, the machine does not store votes, but it just prints them and stores them in a card in this ballot. So you can go ahead and check the ballot in the meantime.
Yeah, an NFC chip. Yeah. You can read with the cell phone if you have one.
Yeah, if you have a cell phone with NFC, you can actually read the contents. I think that one is empty, but you can actually put some content on it. Well, so this very machine that it is used to emit the vote, it's also used to verify the vote and to count the vote later on that day. This machine replaces the system we saw before. It prints the acts, it prints the telegram, it transmits them for the provisory scrutiny, and of course you need to use it for the final scrutiny, because you need to read and process the same information the machine generates. This is the ballot I just handed you. It has an RFID chip. You can see it through the light. It has a thin metal layer to protect that RFID chip from being read on the distance. That is only true if you close the ballot, so that the thin metal layer is right on top of the RFID chip. You can try it with your phones. If that is true, the chip cannot be read. That's correct. But if there is more than 2 or 3 millimeters, then you can read it easily. That means when you bend the ballot to put it in the ballot box, the ballot, as you can see, because of the material, it will open up, so you will be able to read it remotely. As a side note, the chip is an XPI code SLI or SLX. The SLX chip implements crypto. It has a really weak crypto, but it does implement it. However, it doesn't use it. The system doesn't use it. It uses both chips because this one, the SLI, is cheaper, and it's used for those kind of ballots that are for testing. But it's funny because they don't actually use the crypto and the characteristics of the more expensive chip. This is the same ballot, but printed. That one is actually empty. So theoretically, you need to read whatever is printed there. As you can see, the letters are really, really small, really tiny. So not many people can read it actually. And well, of course, the information that counts is stored in the RFID chip. The machine cannot read whatever is printed, so the only thing that counts is the RFID chip. This is a special ballot. There are 2 or 3 different kinds of special ballots. This one is for the polling station president, which allows to configure some settings for the machines. We will show you that we can actually create as many ballots as we want. We can fake the ballots in a really easy way. This is the overall view of the machine. You can see it's a standard touch screen with a printer on the side. The printer is actually a thermal printer, and it has in the same module, it has the RFID transceiver. So some details on this machine. You can start talking whenever you want, you know.
I don't know, that's your part.
So we have this machine. It supports that ballot. This is the RFID printer. It has a power source below it. It has 2 huge batteries, and it has a ton of ports on top of it. Those ports are, let's say, protected, but they are covered by small plastic. It's really easy to remove. It has no kind of lock nor anything like that. And you can access SVGA, 4 USB, an Ethernet port, a few LEDs. You have a DVD reader.
Basically, it's a Linux box. Actually,
Yeah.
we run a version of Ubuntu, almost original, with a web application on top. That's basically what it is. What did you say?
Yeah. Yes, the OS is an Ubuntu, and it's a standard Ubuntu. It has been a little bit trimmed, but not more than that. This is the inside of this machine. These pictures are, well, they didn't allow us to do this, of course. Nobody allowed us to do this, but never mind. That's why I say I encourage you to do these kind of things. So you have the touch screen, the RFID transceiver, the thermal printer, and a speaker. The speaker actually just beeps. It has an audio jack for people with audible disabilities. This is behind the screen. We have a microprocessor, we have a microcontroller, and an awesome JTAG port. It's really funny because before we get our hands on these machines, it has been in use for about 7 years in Salta, in the province of Salta. It had several audits, but not a single audit, not even one audit mentioned that microcontroller. It didn't exist. It wasn't supposed to be there. That microcontroller...
yes, you know where it is. I mean, motherboards have a lot of CPUs inside nowadays, but that particular one is like unexplained. We know that it's a custom ARM CPU with vendor and with a mysterious firmware. Probably has something to do with the management of the printer or the touchscreen or something like that. It's very likely it's the printer. The thing is, that is code that was never audited.
Yeah, it was never audited.
It's not like the principal code was also super good audit, but at
exactly.
least apparently some college took a look at that code, but not that one.
There were several audits. At the same time we were looking at the machine, the University of Buenos Aires was auditing this very same machine with a specialized team. This audit cost like about 1.5 million pesos. They never even mentioned the existence of this controller. It wasn't supposed to be there, apparently.
Also, you should audit also the BIOS, the FE modules, I mean, the firmware of the print. I mean, you're gonna do audit of this machine, you have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but it's really interesting that we also have enabled a JTAG port. I mean, why would you use a JTAG port in an electronic voting machine that it's gonna be used in an elections? Does anybody here? I guess several, but you know, can someone tell me what the JTAG port is? You. Speak up. For debugging. Yes, you can not only debug, but you can actually reroute, if you want, the microcontroller. So I could just, I don't know, say in the night, I could get in where the machines are, and I could reprogram them all. I could do whatever they want. That microcontroller is an Atmel. It has 256 kilobytes of memory, of EEPROM memory, so I can put whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, it's not small. It's quite big.
And it's really funny because you might say, well, yeah, you could reprogram, but you need to open the whole machine. I mean, you need to disassemble all of the machines, except it has a cable. It has a JTAG cable connected directly to the port below, right next to the batteries. And you can see that is a ballot box, an official ballot box, because we reported this publicly, and we asked for the people to take pictures of this. Because this is terrible. This is actually, I mean, how can you put an actual cable to a JTAG port on a production machine? It's ridiculous.
Actually, there are much more discreet ways of hacking the machine. I mean, this is very obvious to put a cable hang of the voting machine. That's the way that a core commander will hack these machines. Yeah. Or even the dictator. But the problem is the guys basically don't even care. I mean, this guy bought on this and just trust us.
Yeah, I just put one picture, but there are actually many documented cases of these machines having the JTAG ports in there. The cable was not accidentally there. It was well attached and really good put. So it's critical. So you can start seeing why we actually hate e-voting. Many things can go wrong and really easily. So let's talk a little bit more profound on this topic. We are gonna see the data structure inside the tag. This is the basic structure of the tag. It's a standard tag. It has, I don't know, about 112 bytes of memory, the RFID tag, I mean. The first byte is a token, and it's fixed. The second 2 bytes is a little endian encoded value that counts as a tag category. That tag category differentiates the kind of ballots, because every ballot is basically the same. For the machine, it's just a chip. So they use this tag category to make a difference between a vote, between a special card, as I showed, for the president, for the polling station president, or for the company's technician and stuff like that. Then it has 1 byte for the rest of the data length, a CRC32, which is, of course, impossible to break, as you know, right? It's 4 bytes for CRC32 of the data, and then it's data. It ends with very weird 4 bytes that we assume, or at least I assume it's a write test, because it says WOK, and we find it on every test ballot, but we couldn't find it in the production ballots. So I'm not sure what does that do, but it doesn't really matter, because it won't, the machine or the software won't read nothing else beyond the data length. And those bytes were right at the end of the RFID chip. Do you want to?
No, that's part of memory, because you were hacking it. So, basically, the way to hack this is to get a cell phone and write the bytes one by one.
Yeah.
That's how we did it.
Yeah, basically. You grab the same phone you use, you start trying, we read the source code, and hack, like you hack whatever, anything, every other thing. Those are the category tags. The first, the second, the third, and the fourth are the most important. Then the other tags, the recuento and apertura, are special to open the polling station and when the polling station closes and you need to start counting the votes. So those are some special tags. And there is a really funny category that it's named no entra, which means it doesn't fit. So I'm not sure what the fuck that means, because what kind of ballot has a tag that means it doesn't fit? What doesn't fit it actually? Then there is a tag for unknown tag. So why would I put the unknown category to a ballot that I don't know which category is? It just doesn't make any kind of sense.
Yeah, remember this have absolutely no security. I mean, you can forge a ballot and you can pretend to be the president of the table. We did exactly that, and we have it in video. I mean, it only have a Series C, so you can, if you know the structure, you can forge whatever ballot you can.
And I will show you to you in just a minute about that. So what we found the same old fears. We found command injection. Actually, he did it. He found a command injection.
Oh, yeah. Very fun.
Yeah, we categorized as a medium threat because it was really hard to exploit, but it did exist. The QR code routine was really bad. It didn't sanitize the user input, so it could be simply exploited. We also found weak authentication, as we tell you just right now. You can just make manufactured votes and manufactured tags and whatever you want. So it's actually trivial. We found multi-vote, which is a critical threat. Then again,
yeah, that was the most incredible failure, because basically the machine has one job. It is to count the votes and count
exactly.
wrong. I mean, you can make it to count a vote several times. For example, with a single vote, to put even 20 votes in a single ballot. And the machine didn't test for that.
Yeah, that's really funny, because the single thing the machine had to do, which was count and counts well, it did it wrong. So, and it was wrong for 7 years. It was wrong for 7 years. It was used in elections during 7 years.
It's not. I mean, these machines are not designed for security-minded people.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like basically hitting a baby. You can. It's now out of Ubuntu. I mean, it's not like you are a super hacker if you hack these machines. They're like the easiest thing to hack. But if they made a mistake in the only function they are made to do, that is to count the votes, so what can you expect for everything else?
Yes, exactly. That's why we wrote several danger indicators. The quality of the code was really poor. It has tons of lines. It has many dependencies, many Python dependencies, too many evals. The whole front end is HTML, CSS, and JS. Most of the JS have evals everywhere, so this was really bad. The company has no internal audit process. The government actually paid for the audits, but the company has no internal audit process, and the hardware was not a specialized hardware. It was a common hardware, a customized motherboard, but nothing else. Here's the command injection.
Well, the command section was quite funny because, yeah, it's basically you put it next to the president name. And it will print the president name in a QR code, and to generate the QR code, it will do a system command in the Python. And if you put this, you could execute things.
Yes, as you can see in the template commando, TMPL commando, the last part, it's quoted. So over here, it shows whatever the user has input and execute that result. So basically, you just...
Yeah, but it almost works because they just by mistake, they filter a characters. So they basically, they save.
Yeah, this was really hard to exploit because there was not actually a filter, but a virtual keyboard where one have to write, and that virtual keyboard didn't allow you to write these kind of things. So it was like, wow, you got passed down that one. Yeah, but if you connected a keyboard or whatever, that's close. It. That was game over. It was game over many layers above because, as I said, the whole application was running as root. After we reported this, it was fixed. The application didn't run as root anymore. They fixed most of these things. There were several leaks of this source code. On every election, there was at least one leak. So we believe several people was participating in leaking the source code, which is really good. And again, I encourage you to do it if you can. Weak authentication. We can just manufacture a tag. We use the very same ballots because we didn't want to buy additional RFID tags. So we use the ballots, and you just write that code. The first byte is the fixed token. The second and third is the tag category written in Little Endian. So it's reversed. That's it. With that simple code, you got to be a technician, so you could modify live. You can do live modifications of the system, and you could actually eject the CD and replace it or whatever you want. I haven't mentioned it, but the whole system runs in a DVD. It doesn't include a pen drive. It doesn't include a hard drive nor any other storage device. Again, supposedly. So the whole system ran from a DVD. This is multi-vote.
This is very fine. I was looking at the code. The first thing that I looked was, of course, the function that count the votes. And they forgot to check that you can put a vote for the same guy many times in a row.
Exactly.
So basically, if you have a NVC with 200 bytes of memory, you can put 200 votes for the same president, and the will just count the votes.
Exactly.
And it was quite funny. We tested this. Not only we count, but the totals will be completely wrong. I mean, we'll try to count, and we'll basically count wrong. The calculation don't match, and you can read it. But that was a very big one.
Yeah, if you read the code really quickly, you can notice that there is a for iterating directly from the data from the tag. So basically, whatever data is in the tag gets iterated and processed. So you can just write more data to the tag, and it will be iterated and processed. This is critical. It's really stupid.
To be honest, probably they never expected a ballot with that 20 votes for the same president.
Exactly.
They don't expect that. So because the machine they don't code defensively that you have to do. So that's why this thing happens.
Yeah, it's really crappy. And it was really fun because actually the machine didn't check that the results were wrong or at least throw a warning. Maybe, hey, come on, I mean, I counted the vote count is bigger than the amount of votes, maybe throw a warning. No, nothing like that. It was just show the result, and that's it. All good. So it was really hard to detect. If you wanted to detect it, you need to be really careful when you count it with this machine, because otherwise you would never realize there was a crafted vote. And as you can see, here is an example of a vote. This is the data. the data part I mentioned before. The first digit, the 06, is the school number, or no, it was a district, and the point is a separator, and the 1 is the school number. And then we have the different categories, and a vote for each category. This com, or dip, or have is the category, and the numbers are the candidates. This information was published online, so you could manufacture the votes previously. So if you want to, you just could do it.
I don't know if you can realize that Ivan can read the vote in hexadecimal in his mind. I mean, yeah, it's like seeing the matrix. I mean, he already can see the candidates there. But when you're gonna fight an adversary, you're gonna fight people like him that can basically read the vote in hexadecimal and decode in his mind.
Yeah, it was really funny that very moment when we first tried this exploit. He was on the phone dictating the codes and numbers to a friend. That guy was telling me what do I have to write, and I was decoding it and writing it directly to the tag with my phone, and we were trying it, and it just worked, and it was like, holy shit, this really works.
Yeah, because we don't really have any permission to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, the authority doesn't allow to fill with the vote, so it was in a hidden position. I didn't know him, he didn't know me. I mean, we suspect each other, maybe we're policemen. So,
yeah.
But
we didn't know each other back then, so
yeah,
it all worked in a really interesting environment.
But it worked. Another thing, maybe you can see there, but that this is not encrypted. That's very
exactly.
interesting, because if it doesn't encrypt that, this use NFC that is using radio. What happened when you use radio with unencrypted data? Well, probably
exactly.
You know that. I'm gonna see.
Yeah, we're gonna see in a minute what happens when you use unencrypted data on a radio. So this is just a tiny example of a word boss. I don't know if you know what a word boss is, a political boss. Someone here told me, you know it as voto de cabresto. So you could actually do this very easily with this machine. Let me find the pointer. Let's see how it goes, this video. This is an example. So as you can see, it's a touch screen, and you just choose whatever you want to choose, and you print. Those are just fake candidates, of course. Leonardo da Vinci is not a candidate. This is just a mere example on a real machine, of course. So basically, you emit a vote. We didn't. Somebody else designed an app, a card reader, to register the vote and detect if that vote was the same or it was different. This, the idea for this is for the word boss to tell somebody, look, you need to vote for these candidates, or else there will be consequences. So this word boss just needs to give a cell phone or whatever to this person. This person will check with the application if the vote was the same as the political word said it should be or not.
Yeah, basically, you buy your vote.
Yeah, basically you can buy votes like this. And in a really, really easy way, because you can effectively prove what did you vote, who did you vote for, and stuff like that. One of the key points for the vote to be secret is to actually, for the voter, to not be able to prove its vote. The voter must not be able to prove whatever it votes. You must not be able to tell a lie from a truth. This is my cheap zapper. I was going to bring it here, but it was hidden in a Marlboro box, and a cigarette box, and it looked pretty much like a bomb. So I thought that in the airport I'm going to have some problems, so I didn't bring it, but I didn't brought it. But this basically is a camera flash. I didn't invent this. This was done the CCC back in, I don't know, like 2008 or so. It enables you to easily burn RFID chips. without leaving any kind of trace or mark. And the idea was to put it in a cigarette box, so you would like go near the ballot box or whatever. You might just, I don't know, want it to smoke, and you just put that box there and click, no more votes.
Yeah, well, you can always set the votes on fire, but
Yeah,
and
of
it
course.
will be the same result, but it's very visible, and this is a very discreet and
Exactly.
and way to do it.
This is a very discrete attack, and you have two kinds of attacks. You can attack a ballot with votes, or you can attack a box that has empty ballots, so you can do a denial of service. Nobody else votes if you have no more ballots. It's a very simple device. It doesn't have much power. It can burn one or two, but they need to be really, really close by. We didn't experiment much on a larger device, but it could be fun because it's also very dangerous. Maybe we could broke cell phones or other electronic devices, so we didn't do it. This is what we called NEMO. This is RFID sniffing, and this is what happens when you have unencrypted data written on an RFID chip.
You can read it.
Do we have audio here? Good.
So you have two votes here to simplify, one the green candidate and the red candidate.
Yeah.
The idea is to put a computer next to the machine and try to guess your vote. I mean, that eliminates the secret of the vote. We use a regular shortwave radio,
Mm-hmm.
Very cheap, not unmodified. I mean, it's just plug it to the audio. And then we have a pattern detection. That thing you hear is modulation of the NFC. I mean, it's leaking radio waves in 15 megahertz, that is the NFC frequency. A shortwave is so sensitive that it can hear, I mean, NFC is safe because you can write it, but you can hear it very far away.
Yeah.
I mean, this little radio here with a small antenna can read it almost 3 meters away. 3 meters away is enough.
Yes, it's almost 1.5 meters, and we detect 100% of the votes, so that's pretty much a lot.
So imagine if you actually know something about electronics, like us,
Yeah.
and you write a custom machine that can listen for the votes. I mean, this will give in a couple of weeks.
This is already 2 meters, and we are still on the 100%.
Yeah, also you don't need really 100%
Exactly.
of security. Man, when you have about 50%, you're done.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if 50, but with 30
Maybe
or 40,
80%. But you have to convince enough people to
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can read the votes, basically.
you can actually know how the election is going live just by reading the votes with a simple radio.
Now, this can be easily fixed by encryption, but encryption itself, they have their own problems. They actually can't do it too easily because you have to be able to read your vote in different machines. That means that every machine has to have the key, and how you distribute the key. And how do you don't leak the key? The key has to be different. I mean, encryption is a complete war of heart.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't do it, and if they don't do it, you can hear.
Actually, after we published this, they start implementing crypto, and they do it all wrong, and they disable it. They tried to use it in a couple of elections for tests. It went really, really bad. It went really bad because since the key is withheld with a single machine, you cannot change the machine if something happens, like if it breaks or whatever, and the machines break a lot, like a lot. So you have a lot of time of delay if one machine got broken because you couldn't just swap the machines. So actually encryption might solve this RFID sniffing partially, but it brings a whole lot more of problems, and they disable it, so we still won.
So, and yesterday there was a presentation in H2HC conference that it called NFC leak, that use an NFC chip similar to us with exactly the same radio that we use, and it can read at exactly the same distance that we did, And the guy didn't name us, but it's okay. I mean, we celebrate.
Yeah, it's fine anyway.
Asshole.
But yeah, he used the same radio, the same this element disposition and stuff. So I don't know, maybe we encouraged him to do it. So after this event, we were unable to get our hands on any other Argentine voting system. We weren't actually able to get our hands on this voting system. We just did it. But after this, it was impossible to find any other voting system. In Argentina, we have several tries on different voting systems, but we cannot touch them. We cannot get even near them. They are like forbidden to us. Anyway, we are gonna do some comments about all of this. Every voting system we name here it's actually pure crap. It doesn't work. It's expensive. It's really slow. Nah, just crap. On the room below us, Matthias is talking about your voting system, which is also a crap. I'm sorry. So this is the e-vote from Altec. Altec is a company founded by the province of Rio Negro. It was almost used in Tierra del Fuego, but we made a few comments about it, and eventually it didn't got used. We were never able to take a look at it directly, so we just used the public documentation. It's really funny because on this machine, on the same machine you vote, you actually have to 10 minutes. Oh, okay. So in this machine, it was really funny because you also vote and you had to put your fingerprints and an RFID card. So basically, you were registering your fingerprint with your vote. Then you made a simple choose in this tactile screen, touch screen, like very similar to the other one. And then the machine printed a sort of ticket and wrote the vote to another RFID tag, this very same RFID tag you put here. So basically you have two sources of the vote. You have the paper and you have the RFID chip. So guess which one counts? The RFID chip, of course. The paper is just a pantomima. It's just
like a receipt, basically.
Yeah, it's not a receipt because it's the actual ballot, but it's not used. The paper is just for the public to say, oh, but come on, it has a paper. It can be verified. Yeah, sure, you can verify it. Can you read the contents of that NFC chip? No. And the most fun part is that they got mixed. So the paper ballot and the card weren't all together, so they were mixed. So how can you verify one with the other? You can't. It's a really crappy system. They didn't even spend like 10 minutes thinking on it. This is another one, VOCOMI, which means Voto Codificado Misionero. We didn't participate on this, but Javier Smaldone, the tall guy we mentioned before, was able to see it for like 30 seconds or so. It was during an event named Smart Cities. It was held at the same time as the Eco Party. The Eco Party asked for machines to review, but electoral officials said there were no machines available to view it, because of course they were on the other event. That event was about selling electoral system and stuff like that. We are gonna do this really quickly. So this machine prints a ticket really similar of the one you have, except that ticket is actually the ballot. So there is Javier trying to read the QR code. The QR code is non-standard code, so it cannot be read with a cell phone. We were able to read it eventually. One guy find out that it was a version 1 QR code and was able to read with a really old and deprecated library. And after you decode that, you get a base 64 string.
No.
We don't mind, we don't care about this audio. You get a base 64 string of data. We don't know which data because it's then hexiped, and after the hexiped, it's just binary data. We weren't able to decode it. But yeah, so basically this machine prints it like that, and guess what? The paper doesn't count, because what really counts is that QR code, and we cannot read it. So, next. This is the ballot. Vote E from the University of Cusco. This is the worst. I'm sorry, but this is just a standard computer, a standard PC running Windows. The software, I think it's written in C# or something like that. The application crashed in just a 30-second test. We didn't use it. The guy that was showing it, that was running the demo, were using it, and it just crashed, and he had to, yeah.
But it happened to Windows too, so it's not blame the guy. I mean, this happens just to all software.
Yeah, the guy had to kill Explorer.exe, and well, what can we say about this? This machine printed to a normal printer this kind of ballot, which had a
barcode.
A barcode, exactly, thank you. That barcode represented directly the vote, so this was the best encoding, but yet, then again, whatever it counts here, it's just the code and not what the rest of stuff that's printed, so we cannot read barcodes with our eyes. The last one, well, almost, Smartmatic. Actually, Smartmatic was just able to participate in actually two really small elections in Córdoba. Those are the machines. It's the very same machines they use in Venezuela. Smartmatic is from Venezuela. Also, Smartmatic manufacture biometric devices for our electoral authority. These devices store the biometric data of everybody, of every single registered voter in an SD card. It was supposedly encrypted with AES, yes, and it uses a symmetric key, so there is one key for every device. And guess what? At least one that we know of got lost. So basically somebody has the biometric records of every Argentinian older than 18 years old. Smartmatic was charged with election tampering in 2017 in Venezuela. And finally, Miru Systems, a South Korean company which provides electoral services, and South Korea does not use them. South Korea votes with unique paper ballots. Our government denies everything we're gonna say here. It was proven in 2016 that delegates from the South Korean government visited Argentina. The South Korean government wrote a memorandum. The Argentina part did not write anything. Several machines were left in customs, but even though the e-voting was not yet approved in Congress and the machines were not designed yet, however, we already have the machines, so this is kind of shady.
Basically, there are like 20,000 machines and nobody knows where they are. But
Exactly.
compared to the regular corruption going on South American countries, this is like nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is standard corruption.
They don't even care about this, but,
Yeah.
but it's kind of important because of voting machines.
Yeah, exactly. This is standard corruption. And when Miru System arrived, the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, we were contacted by the Sentry. The Sentry is a very important media. Well, you want to...
It's an organization that oversees democratic countries and stuff like that.
They contact us. They gave us a classified document. We analyzed that document, and we found out it had cover-up information prepared to be used in Argentina. We wrote a technical document for them. It has this kind of information. As you can see, it's not in French, but in Spanish.
Remember, the Congo election day, nobody speaks Spanish in Congo.
Yeah, nobody speaks Spanish in Congo. This was actually in the official document. There it says DNI, which is the Argentinian document, ID document. There, you will read it here, is the name of our candidates. So they are not Congolese candidates, so it was clearly made for Argentina, the same thing that supposedly never happened. So, conclusions. At least for us, e-voting is a really grave danger to democracy, and it will be for a long time. We cannot know how a system works. All of us here work hacking systems all the time, so we know everything is broken, everything is bugged. We know we can secure layer through layer through layer any other system, but voting is a critical part of our democracy, and we cannot patch it. We cannot elect a president and a couple of years say, oh shit, there was a bug, and no, he wasn't the president. What? We cannot do that. You cannot undo. You cannot roll over an election. It's not writing in a database. We can use, of course, modern technology in the electoral process. We recommend just avoiding the vote casting phase. We can use technology to aid on the count and to aid on many other stages, but not on the vote casting phase. It's easier using a unique paper ballot, or maybe we can start thinking on something different than the unique paper ballots, but it has to be paper, it has to be understood by the population. And of course, as hackers, we mustn't get involved. Alguma dúvida?
Do you also have politicians who say that the urn is like a toaster?
The what? Ah, that's a toaster. Yeah, of course, it's really similar
It's
than a toaster.
like in Brazil.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, politicians in Argentina said it was a printer. It was just a printer. It wasn't a computer. Yeah, it's really similar.
It doesn't have a computer inside because it's a printer. Obviously, a printer obviously the printer have several computers inside, and maybe that modern toaster also have computers inside.
Yeah.
But the explanations for our politicians are the urn is not connected on the internet.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
It's like a toaster.
Tell that to the Russian power station with the Stacknet. It was also not connected to the internet, and it blew anyway.
Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, the developers. I'm sorry, but the developers that do the machines, they are connected to internet.
Yes.
I mean, you hack them. You don't hack the machines.
Just last week we saw a huge theoretical attack. I mean, it's not confirmed, but actually the Chinese were doing a supply chain attack on US companies. I mean, the machine might or might not have internet, might or might not be air-gapped, but developer computers are not air-gapped. The production stage is not air-gapped, so air-gapping is just one layer. As I told you before, here in security, we try layer after layer to protect something, but this is really critical. Thank you.
Have you ever considered like a proposition solution, like develop a method or even in a machine? I know you are not a fan of voting, but proposing a machine that, okay, that is our specification that we consider that are secure.
Yeah, we're working on that, because it's not like you can use, like he said at the end, you cannot use absolutely electronic in any portion of the. I mean, the tiling, the final tiling is a server that is online like 10 years ago. That also was hacked. That's another talk. But you can safely use electronics and computer in several steps of the voting, except in the most critical one. If you do a method, actually, you can accelerate and you use electronic in a safe way. And we are kind of working so we can propose something instead of only criticize things that we love to do. But it's good to propose also. So.
Yeah, we don't just criticize everything, but we don't have time here to talk about all of our proposals. But yeah, the voting stage is not for a machine. It's just for humans and papers, which is the most simple technology.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mais
Any
alguém?
other questions?